in the polling, which appeared today in the Turnbull Times, where the blue line says 49% of Australians believe the country is headed in the wrong direction. A massive 1 point down from the 50% who said it last month. So celebration in lefty land, they're now back into 49% of the country believing that we are in the wrong direction. But of course, it doesn't matter if people think we're in the wrong direction. It doesn't matter if people think that the budget was too little too late when it comes to cost of living, because we know what the plan is when it comes to the Labor Party. Mention one name over and over again, put up the spooky music, and Australia will hand this government another majority.
Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton.
Well, again, we turn to the commentary of today's essential poll in The Guardian, otherwise known as the Turnbull Times, which reads as follows. Peter Dutton slipped back into negative territory, with 42% of respondents disapproving of the job that he is doing. Albanesi is steady with 47% disapproving. Hang on, what? So can we just compare this to here? Peter Dutton, the unelectable opposition leader, the problem of all, the font of all problems for the government, is 5 points in a better position in terms of disapproval than the current Prime Minister. Now, let's be honest, less than a year out from the last election, Anthony Albanesi in the same poll was running third to don't know. So does this number mean something right now? No, but it does remind us that what the government may think is an impossibility of anything other than a majority at the next election is most likely going to be the fight between majority and minority. Now, I have said this since day dot. I've said it in lots of different ways, trying to be funny sometimes and failing, sometimes saying it loudly, always saying it consistently. That most likely the next election is about a minority government for the Labor Party because of the big block of teal seats. But every now and then there's little bits of data that suggest things may be even closer than I or anyone else has been thinking. For example, again, essential poll when we're looking at the primary vote of the political parties. Now, Labor sitting at 32, this is all compared to last month. Labor sitting at 32 is basically where it was at the last election when, of course, it only just fell over the line. Literally, 2/3 of the country didn't vote for them, but they had enough of support, thanks to the Greens, to get them into a place. And obviously, Labor Greens, you get to 45%. So the preferences of people like One Nation, United Australia Party and Independents matter. If you send them back to Labor, they're going to win. But if you send them the way of the coalition, this thing gets close to 50-50. On primary, they're at 36%. Remember, they've got to be at about 40 to be in a truly competitive place. But, again, everything is awesome. Everything is amazing. The budget was fantastic. Everything we do in question time is amazing. We never admitted a problem whatsoever. Again, Turnbull Times, The Guardian. When it comes to two-party preferred, it's dead level. 48-48. And 4% of Australia, 4% of Australians voting are going to make the key decision about whether it ends up as a 52-48 scenario, whether it ends up as 51-49 or, of course, 50-50. Who knows? But interestingly, there is a gender divide here. When it comes to the two-party preferred, men clearly back the Liberal Party. When it comes to women, women are backing the Labor Party. But then again, every now and then we focus on the polls, focus on the data, so we can show you the data, show you the receipts, then have an opinion on top of it. That's the way we try to do it, no matter... Anyway, I won't say that. Now, obviously immigration is an issue that we're not supposed to talk about. We're not supposed to talk about busy streets. We're not supposed to talk about the hospital ramping. We're not supposed to talk about the queues for rental places. We're not supposed to talk about adding hundreds of thousands of people to an already squeezy couple of major cities. You can't possibly talk about it. But guess what? Voters are. And we are exactly where we think the majority of Australians are, and that this is an issue that increasingly they are caring about. Press gallery, not allowed to talk about it. As I went into chapter and verse last night, the high priestesses of the Canberra bubble say, this is racist, Dutton, terrible. But Dutton has less people disapproving than Albanese. Whatever, shush, get back to get Dutton. According to the Financial Review today, and Philip Curry, the excellent member of the press gallery, who a couple of people I always exclude from this press gallery rant I have most nights. They know who they are. Immigration has surged as an issue of concern among voters while the government's perceived handling of the issue is continuing to decline. A far right-wing think tank, otherwise known as the opinion poll in the Financial Review, says so. In the latest True Issues survey by JWS Research, it shows that immigration and border security are now a top 5 issue of concern, with almost a quarter of voters. This is up from 15% 12 months ago. So remember, 12 months ago, we were in a scenario where the government was bringing in a record number of people into the country. And that's when the issue was 15%. When people started to see what the results of those extra people being brought into the country, well, of course, immigration rose as an issue, let alone Andrew Giles, Claire O'Neill, all of that business, which has been going on for too long. But have a look at the issues that are the number one for Australian voters. Surprise, surprise, the one we talk about all the time, cost of living, 80% of people say that that is a very significant issue to them, followed by healthcare, housing, the economy in general. When you look at that with cost of living, it's pretty much a very significant number. The environment, employment, energy, education, immigration and public services. So anyone who wants to say that any discussion about it is racist are not actually paying attention to what Australians' attitudes are. Now, I know that their view in the media is that what they talk about will lead the polls. My view is that we should try to be where the people are, as opposed to pretending that we have any magical powers through television, radio or online think pieces to lead people. That number, by the way, when it comes to cost of living at 80% is up 5 points since last year. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that too little, too late tax cuts are not going to change the perception of cost of living and the help that this government is offering at a time when, of course, every opportunity they can to put up taxes, including petrol. Have you seen the price of petrol today? I mentioned it twice. It's extraordinary. Way over $2 in most parts of the country. But, of course, when it was $1.85, Anthony Albanese said it's time to change the government. But remember, they have no responsibility whatsoever, despite the fact that they, of course, increased the amount of tax per litre to now 49 cents. They could have done something about that in the budget, but no. They wanted a surplus. And that surplus is built off exclusively drivers, smokers, drinkers, because excise tax, vice taxes, are the only way this government stayed anywhere near a surplus.